Hey guys, Glacial here. Because Doom Eternal's coming out soon, I thought I'd make a review on the big game that started it all, Doom from 1993. One of the most revolutionary games of all time, changing the whole industry as we know it, with its at the time amazing graphics, amazing music, phenomenal gameplay and tight controls. It truly was an amazing game. So that's why today, we're talking about all the shitty ports that were made of it instead. Well, here we go. Now, I don't own many of these ports, but I did play all of them for this video, so I could give my opinion on them. Now, to start us off, we have the Sega 32X port of Doom. Now, all the ports I've played for this review, this is the first one that I tried, but it's not the first one that I ever played. We'll get to that one soon enough. Anyway, this game is not the greatest port of Doom, far from it, but supposedly it's one of the best 32X games ever made. If so, that's kinda sad. Now, this game runs pretty smoothly. Sprites and animations look the part, but the rendering is pretty bad. If not for Doom enemies having different colours, you'd never be able to tell what things are at a distance, but all the main gameplay you'd expect is present here. The controls are good and responsive. Unfortunately, it's missing a lot of content, most notably being all of Episode 3, and most levels were heavily shortened. There is no save feature in this version, but instead a level select from the main menu. Probably the most notable thing here about this version is the abysmally shitty remixes of the music. Here, take a listen. So in terms of music, this game falls dead last. Now here is that port that I mentioned before. It was the first way I ever played Doom and is a large reason why I disliked the game at first. It is the Super Nintendo version. Now I'll start with the positives I have for it. It does feature all 3 episodes and the music is pretty good, but it looks terrible and it runs even worse. It's ungodly laggy at the best of times, with everything appearing to move at about 2 FPS. While it does have actual strafe buttons, you can circle strafe, and it's also missing a surprising amount of animation frames, so everything moves very choppily. It is interesting though that the SNES Doom is one of 8 games to use the Super FX chip. It is also one of the only SNES games to be rated M for mature. So out of the 2 games I've done so far, I'd say play the 32X version. Okay, now here is a good Doom port, and it's one I actually own, the Game Boy Advance version. Now this may not seem too special, but considering the fact that it's running on a tiny little handheld with less power than the Super Nintendo, it's pretty amazing. It looks amazing, sounds amazing, and plays like a dream, all on the go. It may not look so great when blown up on the video, but when you're playing it on a 3-inch GBA screen, it looks incredible. It has 26 levels and includes most of the 3rd episode. The strafe works well, but changing weapons can be a painful task. On the default control setting, it requires a button combination, but if you play on setting B or C like I do, it's pretty easy to swap your weapons. There's a surprising amount of settings too, like dynamic lighting, auto run and brightness. The brightness is very useful. If you play it on SP like I do, it doesn't matter too much. When the original GBA, the brightness setting is a lifesaver. One of the sort of weird features is that the blood is green and most gore is removed, but it doesn't hinder the experience at all, and the music seems pretty good as well, all being chiptune remixes of classic Doom songs. There's also a 2-player co-op mode and up to 4-player deathmatch mode. I don't have anyone to play it with though, but I've heard that there are 8 unique deathmatch maps as well, which is pretty cool. Now here we have one of the first Doom ports, the Atari Jaguar version. In terms of retro Doom ports, this is likely one of the best you'll find. It looks very close to the PC original, the performance is amazing and the controls are fluent and responsive. It runs in full screen and somehow the frame rate never tanks for me, not even once. There's some not so great things however, due to the Jaguar controller not having any shoulder buttons, you cannot circle strafe. But thanks to the Jaguar's number pad, it makes switching weapons easier than any other console port. Unlike other ports, the enemies will actually react to gunfire. This port has most of the original levels, with 24 in total. However, most of the levels have different designs or missing sections to save on memory. It is weird, however, that this version lacks any music. It makes the atmosphere more creepy, yes, but with Doom without its music is a whole different experience. And next up is one of the worst ports of them all. I'd say it's worse than the SNES version. Released on a CD with way more power than the Jaguar, Doom for the 3DO is a tragedy. It has the same shortened, cut down levels of the Jaguar version, which is just stupid. The Jaguar had an excuse to be this way. It was on a cartridge with limited space, but this was on a CD with twice the power. It runs 10 times worse than any other version. The screen size is minuscule, and you can only increase it via cheat code. Unlike every other port, which was made from the ground up for its respective system, the company behind this one was called Art Data Interactive, and all they did was copy and paste the PC version onto a 3DO disc. Not only that, but in magazines before the game even had developers, they promised new weapons, new levels, and an FMV story about Doom Guy and his girlfriend. Can anyone guess how many of these actually happened? If you guessed 0, you were right. Supposedly, the 1/8 screen size was an intended feature, not just a way to mask how horrific this game was. The port was pushed all onto one person. Yep, that's right, one person. And this isn't her fault either, because her port of Wolfenstein 3D was actually really good. Instead of development software, she was given a copy of the PC version and character JPEGs, so I don't blame her for the game being bad if those were her only development tools. And I forgot to mention that the game was given a development time of only about 3 weeks. 3 weeks to develop a full game. Now, I couldn't just end the video on something that's maybe the worst Doom port. I have to end on some real horse waste. If we were to put these ports into a tier list, it would fall into Z-. So here's the port of Doom for the Sega Saturn. It is absolutely terrible. It is bad in almost every possible way. It was incredibly disappointing considering the time it came out. The Jaguar version came out on bad hardware, bad format, but managed to be amazing in 1994. But this version, on an at the time modern console, came out in 1997 and it is 100 times worse. I don't know why this one sucked so bad. It came out the same year as the Saturn ports of Quake and Duke 3D, and those were awesome. It's not a port of the PC version, but instead the custom PS1 version. The only good thing about this game is that it runs in full screen, but the frame rate takes a big hit because of it. It's definitely worse than the 3DO port. Turning is too slow, running is too fast, and the performance is atrocious. You run out of ammo way too quickly. I found myself running out of ammo completely every couple of minutes. It runs worse than almost every other game I've ever played. And when you add in the bad controls and fire rate, you've really hit rock bottom in terms of Doom ports. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.